Insurance dudes, insurance dudettes, welcome. Do you ever feel like a caged lion in a corporate jungle? Well, you PNC captive carrier and agents, you just may. And you know what? We want to help you with that. Today, we're going to unlock law number 1 from the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. We're going to do this over the course of, well, you can do the math, how many more episodes that's going to be. But I want to help set you free so that you don't lose your stripes. Let's dive in.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
All right, so we're jumping into Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. It's a playbook for navigating the treacherous waters of power dynamics, right? We need to move energy. We need to take control. We need to have power, but at the same time, we have to be strategic about it, right? This law is a real game changer, especially if you've ever felt like you're an entrepreneur, but you're in a straitjacket. I know that in this world, however we ended up in the insurance world, especially as a PNC agent and especially as a captive PNC agent. So if that's you, then you're in the right spot. Even if you're an independent, you may feel this at some times. And it's the notion of being in that situation where you were sold the idea you're a full entrepreneur, it's your business, you're going to be able to do whatever you want. But then you realize that there's a little bit more control over that than may have been thought previously. And that's okay, right? This is the situation that we're in, and now we have to work with what we have. But I'd like to coin a term here and call it a frantrepreneur. Not necessarily a full entrepreneur, more of a frantrepreneur, kind of a franchise owner. So we still have a little bit of the corporate playbook that we got to follow, some rules and heightened security measures just to protect the company. But at the same time, we need to win. So we have to be really strategic about that because we don't want to create an adversarial relationship. We want to create a symbiotic relationship. And law number 1 is a great place to start, which is probably why Robert started there. So law number 1 is never outshine the master. Now, it's not just about showing off. It's about strategic humility. So let's say that again, strategic humility, right? There's a time and a place to be braggadocio. Or maybe even not, right? Nobody really loves a braggart. But it's okay to celebrate. We need to be careful though, right? And we need to be very strategic about where we place credit, because at the end of the day, assuming and taking all of the credit yourself, even if you are the one who facilitated that, is going to rub people the wrong way. It's going to rub the team the wrong way. And if you're out and about saying it, and don't give credit or don't have your FSL or your market leader in mind, there could be issues, right? We need to be strategic about this. Let's look at Robert Greene's example. So he throws out a couple examples to really drive this home. And I think they're fantastic. They're old, trusted, and true. We have a lot of hindsight now to look back at these things, but take out Galileo, right? He's one of the first, I guess it's argued, him and Copernicus. But let's look at Galileo. We're talking 1632. So way back, right? Almost 400 years ago. And he's over here figuring some things out about where we are in the universe, about where we are in the solar system, about, oh no, wait a minute. Mathematically, it's impossible that the Earth is the center. It's the sun. We're all rotating around the sun. Well, remember, this is a time where the Catholic Church had a lot of power, still have a lot of power, but a tremendous amount of power and control over everything, all the way up to the throne, right, where they are. And when you're looking at this, so we have Pope Urban the VIII at the time, did not like to be outshone. Galileo understood this. So instead of creating friction, instead of saying, hey guys, guess what? Church is wrong. Any sentence that starts with the church is wrong, especially back then, is going to be a lot of problems. So he was strategic about it, thought this through, and would frame his discoveries as a mathematical hypothesis, not as an absolute truth, just as, hey, I found this idea, I applied math, it seems to be the way that things work. And then how he leveraged it with the Pope was, it was the Pope's idea. So he gave credit to the math that proves out the hypothesis to the person who's going to be the one who would have been his greatest adversary, but instead gives him credit, doesn't take the credit himself. And this humility is what basically, well, number one, probably kept him alive. And number two, allowed for him to create and do many, many more groundbreaking contributions to science. So really, really important, right? He figured that out. He played some chess on this bad boy. Now, let's look at somebody who didn't follow it. We have Nicolas Fouquet. I hadn't ever heard of him, but I thought this was interesting. So this is the 17th century, same time period, right? 1600s. And this is over in France. So King Louis the 14th was the big man in France, right? And Fouquet was in the inner circle, was one of the lead advisors, and he wanted to be moved up, as I recall, wanted to be moved up from like one position to basically the hand, if you watched Game of Thrones, right? So be the right-hand man. Well, he thought that he could do this by having a giant party in honor of the king, right? He thought, hey, I'm going to have this big party at my place. I have this huge house. I've been doing well. He invited everybody, all the A-listers to this party. And it was such a big thing. It was the biggest party that had ever happened. It basically outshone the king. Well, king didn't like it. The king felt it made him look like a bum and thought that Nicholas was doing it on purpose. So he took it personally. The king felt humiliated. So guess what? Fouquet ends up spending the rest of his life in jail, dies in jail. So this is obviously 400 a year ago consequences of doing this, but this type of thing can happen now. Now let's apply this in our world, right? We would think, and as I thought about this myself, I thought, okay, how does this apply? Because, well, technically we don't have a boss, right? Most of us who own agencies aren't in it, or we are in it because we wanted to be our own boss, right? We wanted to do this. And then we signed up thinking we're going to be our own boss, especially over in the captive side. And we get a little bit of a reality check because we do have a little bit of a corporate puppeteer, right? They have a certain agenda. They have a certain need to serve, whether it's a mutual company or a publicly traded company. They have different people that they're responsible for results for. The primary relationship with corporate is not between the agent and corporate. No, it is between corporate and the shareholders, corporate, the mutual, those who are part of the mutual company. So we have to figure out, A, how are we going to get our best results? B, how are we going to do those best results and B, put ourselves into positions that create more opportunity, right? And also be authentic, because that's important too. You don't want to just be a fake person and do this. So number one, we got to realize that we're not just an entrepreneur, right? We're something else entirely, and not be upset and try to shove entrepreneur into this place where it isn't necessarily 100% accurate, right? We need to look at what we are and where we're at. And we are in that Frenchpreneur location, right? This is the duality of the role. We have to make the decisions. We have to be independent in that we're the owner and we're operating this business, or we have somebody else operating that business, but we are tied to rules, regulations, agendas, and all of the different things that come with a relationship to that corporate entity. So once that's understood, great, right? Great. So this means we definitely need to play it smart with corporate, right? We need to play the game by the rules. So we need to know the rules. You could have the best, most amazing ideas all day long, but if they're not allowed to be implemented in this business, then don't, right? If they're not, don't There's no reason to push the envelope when there's plenty of opportunity to do it in the way that it's preferred by the company. So no reason to get in trouble. And it's important to also position yourself in understanding that our role is to make our market leaders look good, right? Make them look good, because then when other opportunities come up through the law of reciprocation, which somewhere down here, some point, and that's just a teaser, they're going to be indebted to helping you. So again, if we come from a place of wanting to help, we talk about this all the time. That's what we do, right? We're coming here from a place of wanting to help agents because we struggled, and that's why we share. So just finding that strategic alignment with the market leaders, making them look good, and become indispensable, right? Offer your help, offer your assistance. I love to offer help to our regional leaders, to anybody that wants us to talk. We've given so many talks, different webinars, shared all of the different ways that we've grown our agencies, and it's really proven to help a lot, right? To have those good relationships. You could love corporate all you want, but if you don't show that you're willing to contribute and that you're willing to play ball and that you want to play nice and you're going to follow the rules, then you have problems, and it's not worth it, right? So we got to swallow that pride. We have to check that ego at the door. And we know if you're getting upset, I thought about this the other day. I mean, it's easy, right? It's easy to get upset because things constantly change and there can be a lot of frustration. So it's easy to get upset and just throw your arms up and, why is this happening to me? Right? But I remember somebody on the podcast saying, why is this happening for me? I love it. Right? Why is this happening for me? And just being ready to accept that things are going to change, right? Another big one. One of my mentors and dear friends said it all the time, but being right is insufficient for being effective, right? We need to set aside the need to be right. Who cares? Right? We get on these calls and everybody has to friggin' chime in and put in their 2 cents and have the last word and be right, right? Be right. Everybody wants to be right. Doesn't matter. I just want to be effective. I mean, sure, I love to be right. Everybody loves to be right. And I think it's important to notice when we're in that frame where we're trying to be right, right? If you notice you're having friction in a conversation, take a step back and wonder, am I trying to be right? Is that what I'm doing right now? Am I just trying to be right, just to be right? And see how that goes, right? Because a lot of times when we're trying to be right, we're trying to move somebody off a certain position, and that takes a lot of work. Why not just come to an understanding to get to that outcome? And that's the most important part. So your effectiveness comes from doing your job in a way that assures your superiors that you're on their team, right? They have contests. If you're a high producing agent, a lot of times the contests are so ridiculous that because they're geared to the masses, right? The contest is so simple, or maybe the prize is so low or doesn't seem like a big deal that you just, whatever, right? But not a good approach, right? They're doing these contests because they're trying to help. They're trying to create incentives, and they're doing that to show their strength with their superiors, right? They want to impress their superiors. So why not help them by making their contests effective, right? Always be on the prowl for a new contest, whatever's going on from corporate, take advantage of that. Also, it's free dollars, even if it's not a lot, right? If you've scaled and these are little things, it's still worth doing. Think long-term, think strategically. Want to help them hit their bonuses, right? You find your own path to freedom and wealth by helping others to achieve their goals, because then they're going to in turn reciprocate and help you. And especially not looking for that, because it's fun to help others, right? If somebody's confused, if somebody doesn't understand, I mean, it happens every week in our elite dudes calls when we're sitting down, we're going through the telefunnel and explaining it. It helps so much just to coach them through it, right? It helps us. So that is the first law. The first law: grasshopper cannot outshine the master. Very important. So appreciate you listening. If this resonated with you, please pound that subscribe button, throw a comment in there. If you have any questions, if you want to talk some trash, throw a comment in there. Tell me that it wasn't a great episode. I want to hear it all. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. See you next time.